today's true crime, we return to a tragedy in Illinois. In January of 2009, toddler Benjamin Kingen unexpectedly died after his parents dropped him off at daycare. Following his death, daycare worker, 22-year-old Melissa Calusinski, was interrogated for nearly 10 hours before finally confessing that she'd thrown the toddler to the floor in frustration. Immediately afterwards, Melissa recanted her confession, but it was too late. Now, over a decade into her 31-year prison sentence, Melissa continues to maintain her innocence, while substantial evidence casts doubt on her conviction for first-degree murder.
On January 14, 2009, 16-month-old Benjamin Kingen died tragically at a daycare center in a quiet Chicago suburb. The reported cause of death, brain injuries, and a skull fracture caused by blunt trauma, which the coroner compared to a two-story fall. 22-year-old daycare aide Melissa Calusinski, who was with Benjamin at the time, quickly became the prime suspect. Melissa denied killing Benjamin for over 10 hours of police interrogation. Then came her startling confession.
You threw him on the floor?
Yeah, really hard.
Really hard?
Yeah.
Show us how hard you threw him on the ground.
Or like that.
Okay.
The confession proved what the coroner's report stated: blunt trauma to the head. Melissa was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 31 years in prison. In 2015, a new coroner uncovered better quality versions of the x-rays that were originally provided to the defense team, which he said showed no signs of a skull fracture, enabling him to reclassify the toddler's cause of death from homicide to undetermined. But despite this new evidence, Melissa remains behind bars to this day.
Joining us now is Dr. Our Show's senior investigative correspondent, Marsky Avocampo. Why did Melissa's original legal team use all this evidence that suggested Benjamin had old injuries as part of their defense?
Yeah, it's because they didn't have it. It wasn't until 2015, 3 years after Melissa's sentencing, that a new coroner discovered new x-rays. Now, the old x-rays, the ones that had been used during Melissa's trial, were very dark. It was difficult to read them. And as you can see, the new ones are much brighter. And the coroner said that this revealed evidence of existing injuries. But that's not the only thing that he looked at. He also went back and looked at Benjamin's blood samples and found evidence of iron. Why does this matter? Why is this important? Well, iron would only be present in his blood if he had an existing injury. It wouldn't be there if the injury was fresh. And you can see the presence of iron here in the tissue sample marked by those blue dots. So he believed that this was further evidence of an existing injury. Lastly, he looked at the chart of Benjamin's head circumference, and he found that Benjamin's head had been growing rapidly in the months leading up to his death, going from the 50th percentile to the 95th percentile. And that suggests massive swelling. So all of these things convinced this new coroner to reclassify the cause of death from homicide to undetermined.
And I had the opportunity to personally interview Dr. Rudd about the baby Benjamin head trauma that Mar just mentioned. Again, I've been following this case very carefully. Take a listen. What happened to him 6 weeks before he died that caused this hematoma that you identified as with having iron in it that may have led to his skull growing and may have led to his death?
Very simply put, this is a scab, and a scab will only occur when the injury is healing. So if this was an acute injury, that arrow showing the scab would not have been there. And the best way to prove that it is a scab is because the granulation tissue will absorb red cells which have iron. So I did a stain for iron. Lo and behold, it's positive, which means the injury is old and not acute, and therefore Melissa could not have caused the death of this child.
With so much doubt and conflicting information in this case, we sent Mara to talk to Melissa at Logan Correctional Center, where she's been incarcerated.
Melissa Calusinski was sent to Logan Correctional Center in Lincoln, Illinois, after being convicted of killing toddler Benjamin Kingen. She's been in prison for more than a decade, but Melissa still maintains her innocence. We're going to go inside now and hear her side of the story.
You've now been incarcerated for 11 years.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you to lose 11 years of your life for something you say you did not do?
know it's not over, so I have to keep fighting because I'm innocent. I'm going to keep doing whatever I have to do.
There was new evidence that came out after your trial that suggests that nobody hurt Benjamin, that children hit themselves in the head all the time.
Yeah.
And that essentially it was an accident, and he was not killed.
Yes. If there was something he couldn't have, or if somebody would take like a toy from him, another child, he would just all of a sudden literally throw himself back.
So that was part of his tantrums.
Yes.
Was flinging back.
Yes.
And would he hit his head?
He would. You would hear it.
What happened the day that Benjamin died?
It was just like after snack time, he was fine to me, but he crawled to his bouncy chair and was just laying there. And then all of a sudden, like when I saw him and I noticed he wasn't moving and I called out his name and he didn't answer, so then my immediate instinct kicked in. I went over to him, touched his hand, and he still wouldn't wake up. He looked lifeless.
Were you scared?
Oh yeah.
So what did you do?
Called for help.
Part of the reason you're so upset now, is it because you cared for Ben?
I did. Because I was trying to help as much as I could. And he didn't make it.
Did you ever think that you would be blamed for what happened?
No, I wouldn't.
When did you realize that police were looking at you?
I didn't realize until, actually, the day when they threw handcuffs on me late at night.
Up next, Melissa details her terrifying police interrogation and why she says she wrongly confessed to brutally killing a toddler.
To be twice as delicious,
Really powerful.
have an allergic reaction. Sometimes
At Logan Correctional Facility. We've been talking about the tragic death of toddler Benjamin Kingen and the subsequent conviction of daycare worker Melissa Calusinski. Now, Melissa was convicted of first-degree murder following a taped confession to police. Today, Melissa remains in prison at Logan Correctional Facility over a decade into her 31-year sentence. But mounting medical evidence suggests Benjamin may have had a previous head injury, and claims of police coercion during Melissa's confession overshadow this case. Has justice been served, or is an innocent woman sitting behind bars? Dr. Oz, senior investigative correspondent Mars Campo continues her conversation with Melissa in prison.
Have you ever been accused of hurting a child?
Never. Not once. I've always had good reports on me.
after Benjamin Kingen's tragic death, 22-year-old Melissa Calusinski was interrogated by police for nearly 10 hours without a lawyer present.
Tell me about the police involvement. Did they ever tell you were under arrest?
No, they just really handed me a piece of paper
What did it say?
stating our actual rights when an officer arrests you, saying present to an attorney. And they told me, they're like, this is just protocol, you're not under arrest.
You were required to sign it?
Yes.
The interrogation lasted about 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever say you wanted to speak to a lawyer?
No.
Why? Why
I
didn't you
didn't
ask
think
for
I
a
was
lawyer?
I didn't think I was in trouble at all. I just was trying to help them out.
Did they ask you directly whether or not you had done something to him?
They were blaming me, asking me questions like, were you frustrated? Did you get tired, angry, or anything? I kept telling them I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I wasn't mad. I wasn't frustrated. I was happy.
You denied doing anything wrong almost 80 times.
Yes.
I never put my hands on her husband.
And then at some point, you admitted to hurting Benjamin. Why did you confess?
I felt like I had no other way of getting out of that room. They kept me locked in there for I don't know how long. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, nothing. Like, I was just so exhausted and ready to go home, and I was just telling them what they wanted to hear.
Without the confession, there would be a much weaker case. You might not be here right now.
Yeah, and I kick myself, and I get mad every time I think about it, because I wish I would have known.
What would you have done differently?
I would have said I wanted a lawyer, and I would have stopped talking to him.
How do you keep your head up in the face of such a daunting circumstance? How do you stay hopeful?
I stay very hopeful because, again, it's just everything's going to come out of what exactly happened. And me being innocent, I have to keep my head up and stay strong for not only for myself but for my family.
Since Melissa's conviction, she has enlisted the help of a lot of high-profile people, including an attorney. Please tell me about her.
Yeah, this lawyer's name is Kathleen Zellner, and she specializes in wrongful convictions. In fact, she has a very well-known client, Stephen Avery, who is the subject of the Netflix documentary, Making of a Murderer. So what she's doing is trying a new tactic. What they're doing is they are taking this to the federal level. They're asking for a federal review, claiming that Melissa's constitutional rights were violated because of mistakes made by prosecutors.
Oh my goodness, completely removing the jury element from this.
Completely taking it and escalating it from the state level.
So what's next in Melissa's battle for freedom?
Well, right now, her team is waiting for a review, and they're waiting for a ruling from this federal court on whether or not she'll get a new trial based on these new legal arguments. But let's be very clear here. Melissa has exhausted all of her state options. So if this tactic doesn't work, she may very well end up serving all of that 31-year sentence.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think at least medicine ought to be front and center in this case. Anyway, thank you very much. Wonderful job with you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
I'm not going to bother to turn this around to show me, so you'll just look at the pause screen right now. This is the first time I watched this, and actually the Dr. Oz episode just ended literally right now. I don't know where to start. And first thing I'll say is it upset me to see Melissa cry. Especially since I haven't been able to see her for months due to COVID. And I know that this was filmed a long time ago. But still, it upsets me. I don't like to see Melissa upset. I'm confused by the x-ray pictures that they showed, because they were showing the original, but you're still able to see stuff, and that is not what the original x-ray looked like. The original x-ray was almost completely blacked out, that you could see nothing. So I'm confused on that. I am disappointed that Melissa's segment was so short, that they, interviewed her for quite some time, and that's the little bit they chose to edit in. So I feel like Melissa's story still isn't being told. I appreciate Dr. Oz publicizing her case, and it does seem to me that Dr. Oz is on her side, especially since he talked to Dr. Rudd, and Dr. Rudd is amazing in showing just how science proves that Melissa didn't do this. The way that her interrogation was edited down, you have to remember, they did say on there that she was interrogated for 10 hours. So it's just like when you hear Brendan Dassey, that he was coerced into saying those things. The same thing happened to Melissa. So by showing that segment, of her saying that she threw Ben down like this very hard. That's what they had told her. And then they wanted her to act it out. So Melissa was just saying and doing what they were asking her to say and do. She, like Brendan, had said in this interrogation, she just wanted to go home to her parents and her puppy. She thought she was going home. And I know she said in there that if she could do it all over, she would ask for a lawyer. Well, when she was on the phone with her father at some point during this interrogation, her father said lawyer. Now, I know that Melissa was technically an adult, but she does have learning disabilities, a lower IQ. Her father said lawyer. And not only did they ignore that, they were also referring to Melissa as a bitch while on the phone with her father. So this Dr. Oz does not do Melissa's case justice. If you want to truly know about Melissa's case, you need to look up the 48 Hours episodes. One is called Blaming Melissa, and the other is called The Fight for Melissa. Erin Moriarty of 48 Hours has been covering Melissa's case for a long time. And Erin Moriarty does her case justice. I see I'm being asked, what do the child's parents think? I know I compare everything to Making a Murderer, but like the Halbach family, Ben Kingham's family doesn't really speak in the press. So they're just going to believe what law enforcement told them happened. They sued the daycare and got a $2 million payout. And so they just stay silent. So don't know what the parents think today. But the science is there, as both Dr. Oz and Dr. Rudd said. The science is there to show that this boy did not die the way the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force claims and had Melissa say. It's The Fight for Melissa and Blaming Melissa are the two episodes, Katie. It is shown that the boy's brain swelled. Do we know why and when his brain was swelling? No, you can't. You don't have the absolute proof of when that was. But Melissa can't drop the kid and simultaneously his brain swell up to that big. Doesn't happen. So Melissa didn't drop him, but even if she did, his brain can't swell up like that. This boy was brought to that daycare a month before, 6 weeks before. I don't recall the exact time frame. Melissa wasn't even working at this location because this daycare had multiple locations. Melissa was at a different one before she transferred to that one. So this boy was brought to the daycare and he had a bump on his head. And the daycare said he can't be here without going to see a doctor because the daycare did not want to be held liable for this bump on his head. So the kid went to the doctor and the doctor said the kid was okay. So this would be then the fault of that doctor for not seeing that this kid's brain was swelling. So it's just a sad, tragic accident. How did the kid get the bump on his head? Don't know. Don't know if there was child abuse. Not saying necessarily the parents. I'm just saying in general. So don't know if there was child abuse. Don't know because Ben was unknown, as they say, headbanger, where you saw Melissa talk about that a little bit, that he would fling his head back and hit his head on the floor. So don't know if that's what caused it. All we do know is they said Melissa threw him to the ground, which cracked his skull. A medical person, I don't know if it was coroner or whoever it was, they testified saying that they saw blood and could feel a crack in the kid's skull. Then they give the defense this blacked out x-ray so you can't see anything. You have Melissa's coerced confession that's chopped up. You can also look for Melissa Calusinski interrogation. It is available out there somewhere. If somebody wants to find that and post a link where you can watch her interrogation. There's nothing to say that Melissa did this. She told them over and over again she didn't do this. The science shows she didn't do this. The poor kid's brain was swelling, and that's what caused his death. Poor little Ben lost his life. Melissa has lost 12 years of hers. And her parents have lost 12 years of having their daughter free. Melissa is 100% innocent. And this enrages me that this poor girl is stuck at Logan Correctional. Melissa's not harming a baby. Melissa's not harming anyone. It's not in her nature. So, all right, I have to go. I was supposed to be at work 10 minutes ago, but I wanted to cover this. So, thank you for watching. Please share Melissa's story. You know, we need Melissa's story to be in the spotlight. We need more and more people to see what has been done to Melissa, that she is another person who is in prison for a crime they didn't do, that there was corrupt law enforcement that just screwed this case up from top to bottom. So, yeah. All right. Thank you all. Talk to you soon.